Are you ready for this, Scully?
I don't know. There's a choice.
Good enough for me. Go, go, go!
Welcome to Cordkillers, our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so you can watch the contractually obligated stars of the 90s when you want, where you want, on whatever device you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and who had the over-under on 25 years after the X-Files, Scully would be thinner and Mulder would be fatter? I didn't see that coming. I figured...
we should have seen that coming in retrospect, but yeah, me either.
I want to believe that everyone can be thinner and more beautiful as they age, but apparently only Scully can.
That was just Gillian Anderson ad-libbing like, I don't have a choice. It was in my contract. I had to do this.
Fair enough, man. How you doing, Tom?
I'm good. I'm in the lovely Emerald City of Seattle, shooting about that'll come out. So I'm really excited.
Man, that's really weird because I thought you had good Wi-Fi, but just as you mentioned the exact name of the project you're working on.
Oh, really?
It cut out. Yeah, no, that's the weirdest thing.
Sorry. So it's called.
Yeah. Right.
So, and I'm really looking forward to people seeing it.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to you telexing me the answer of what the project's name is. But for now, I say we dive into the primary target.
Yeah, because we have a game to play.
Uh-oh. A game. I'm not very good at games.
So a bunch of TV executives and experts were on a panel at the Future of Television panel at Fortune's Brainstorm Tech Conference in Aspen, Colorado. And I am going to read you quotes from these various experts, Brian. You tell me, do they have a cool head or is their head in the sand?
Okay, and this is a game everyone should play along with at home, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right. And
you may think, oh, well, they're all going to be head in the sand because you're cord killers and you hate people. That's not true. Some of these are very cool head responses. Some of them are not. So the fun thing for you is to guess which one Brian thinks it is. Let's start off with Amy Bance of Comcast Ventures. She was involved a lot in the E-networks back in the day. She said, I personally believe, and also by looking at our own statistics, that the volume of press around cord cutting doesn't quite match reality.
All right,
cool
lock
head?
in your answers now, home players.
Head in sand.
The answer is you have an ice-cold head that's in the sand.
Boom.
And what I mean by that is there is trends and there are points of data. I would say she is correct insofar as at this exact moment, the exact gulf between cord nevers and cord killing is not anything proportionate to the hype surrounding it. However, again, you ride a freaking roller coaster up to the top. When you're at the top of that roller coaster, you have a brief moment that you can look left, look right, barely feel yourself moving, and say, I think that all this talk about this being a wild ride is a bunch of BS. I mean, look at us. Clearly, we haven't moved at all. So I'm going to say mostly head in the sand, but technically accurate for this data point right now.
Yeah, no, I have nothing to add to that. I think that's 100% right. George Liavkov, president of Hearst Ventures, not Hearst, but Hearst, the media company, said cord cutting is a great story. I don't know if he actually used air quotes, but there are quotes in the quote. Cord cutting is a great story, but I think it's over-reported. A la carte purchasing of channels and not taking most of them is a far more interesting area. And I've got a second part. Do you want to evaluate this one?
You know what? Actually, let's save the kicker because he ruins it with the kicker. Because so far, I think he has a very cool head about this. I think this is accurate. I think he's saying that most media is latching on to the simplistic, overblown narrative that the world is about to take a knife and cut their cord. You're right. It is oversimplified. I do think that I personally am no longer a believer in a la carte pricing. I believe that a la carte, they'll just figure out a way to somehow charge us even more. But I do agree that the media unfairly benefits the fact that it's a tidy story. I guarantee you, Tom, surely there can't be a follow-up statement that he makes that makes me want to turn around and punch him.
Right. So then he brings up like, the great example of television on the internet is Comcast Stream, the streaming service that only subscribers to Comcast's ISP can get and gives them broadcast networks and HBO. And then he says,
wait, real quick. Well, in regards to that, before we get to his awesome punch quote, that if I understand it, remember correctly, the thing that sucks about it is that it's only available to current internet subscribers. But that was an almost Sling TV like thing, only it was limited unfairly in old school cable ways, right?
Yeah, no, it's essentially like we'll give you the $40 a month Comcast TV package, but only over our internet service.
Got it. And he wraps it all up in a bow with what?
It turns out the killer app is television.
Wah, 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 wah. Head in the sand. Next.
Head right down there in the sand. I Comcast Stream as an example of the next wave is also head in the sand. Like, unless you open it up to people on all ISPs.
Agreed.
You're doing a temporary measure. And I think Comcast knows that, actually. I don't think it's wrong for them to try this. I think it's a learning. It's like having training wheels on. Sam Schwartz, Chief Business Development Officer of Comcast Cable on Comcast Stream, said, "It will be successful if we can surgically go after those that don't already subscribe to cable."
So far down in the sand that
I'm not sure it's head in the sand.
That
he
came out of the sand in the
Is it a head?
What's that?
Is it even a head?
I mean, it's like, well, I mean, it depends on how long his body goes, but the problem is he probably would have come out on the other side of the planet had he not burned up in the core of the molten earth. That's insane.
I think it's a Kerberos. I think it's a head eating itself.
Okay, fine. The problem is, okay, of all the idiot-minded ways to court the cord nevers, because again, almost all the millennial generation are going to grow up in a world without cable, and they'll never get cable, and they won't care about cable. They'll watch everything on demand. The idea of seducing them with an encumbered package and an exclusive, crappier version of a service like Sling TV, I think is insane.
Well, even if you say, okay, Comcast Stream is just Sling TV, but with the broadcast networks instead of the big cable networks, all he's saying is it'll be successful if we can go after the target market we created it for.
Well, that's true, and
like,
you're right.
He's not really saying anything. He's saying
no.
Go after those that don't already subscribe to cable. Well, yeah.
Tom, in defense
Right.
of this rhetoric, I want to point out that it is 100% absolutely true that I will be able to step in 3 bounds to the moon if I can just hold my breath and tolerate the vacuum of space for the trip. I mean, I think that's fair to say.
I think when I think about the Cordkillers audience, I think this show will be successful if we can go after those people who like shows like Cordkillers.
I feel like I'll make the 3-point shot if I throw the ball in such a way that it goes through the hoop. That's what I think. I mean, that's what maybe I'm nutty. I'm old-fashioned like that.
Okay, and I apologize, Mr. Joe Marchese. I don't know how to pronounce his name correctly. He is the president of Advanced Advertising Products for Fox Networks Group. He pointed out that internet access still requires a cord.
Oh, my God. Is he going to be that guy? He's that guy at the party who walks around saying, like, well, if you think about it, you need a power cord, too. I mean, there are cords everywhere. What, are you just going to magically...
Really cut cords.
All right,
and then Dave Morgan, founder and CEO of Simul Media, pointed out that Judge Judy draws more total audience ad minutes than all of YouTube in a single day. He says there's an enormous opportunity, not only in terms of what's coming, but what we're sitting on top of right now.
Okay, this is so wrong-headed. It's what's the famous physics quote? It's like it's so off it's not even wrong, because you're comparing something. YouTube is a network, a single network, a single platform, a single ad sales vehicle. Judge Judy is content that gets taken to a market and sold all of the... you might as well say, well, Bill Blass makes products sold all over the world, even more so than YouTube. Like, that's how much sense this makes.
I'll actually give Dave Morgan a little more credit than that. I think you're right that there's a hypocritical part of the comparison, because YouTube doesn't deliver ad minutes when they can't sell them, whereas Judge Judy will. They'll sell it, remnant ads or whatever. YouTube doesn't roll an ad if there's not an ad bought. So it's just hard to compare. At the same time, his final sentence, I think, is not bad. There is an opportunity in what they're sitting on top of, as well as what's coming. That's absolutely right. If you can actually take advantage of what you've made so far and package it and make it available and accessible to people who want it in a different way, you will win. That is right.
Well, okay, the one quote that I didn't see in here was somebody said that they felt like the overall, or maybe it was the author of the article that summarized it as...
Well, yeah, okay.
Just the overall narrative of cord killing or cord cutting is a bit overblown. What's much more realistic is cord shaving. And I would say that is accurate. Unfortunately, it's only accurate because the people who have the ability to offer reduced packages are the ones selling you your internet access.
Yeah. Well, and it depends on the demo, right? I mean, Amy Vance said that, the press is overblown around it. I think a lot of people said quotes that generally expressed that notion that cord shaving is more popular than cord cutting. And that's true.
I mean,
right?
Again,
but that, to me, that's a linear progression towards the end, right?
Well,
people who've had cable forever are going to shave first because they're like, well, I don't know if I can do without this channel, but I guess I really don't need all these packages. Until at one point they go, maybe I don't need any of this, and they cut it all together. And that could happen all in a big bunch.
I don't know. I feel like it's the heroin pusher saying, like, all this talk about heroin quitting's overblown. I think clearly people seem to want this heroin since it's what they're forced to have.
I've got so much of it. How could they not want it?
Right. I think heroin shaving's where it's at.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
I think you're right. Well, let's thank the people who are our heroines or heroes, the Patreons.
Oh,
at patreon.com/Cordkillers.
An army, a legion, a legionnaires division, a platoon of 2,120 beautiful people making it possible to keep us loud, live, and independent. If you get value out of this show every week, we want to keep doing it forever and ever and ever for you. Hugs and kisses. Just head on over to patreon.com and kick us a few nickels. Kick us a nickel. That's our motto. Only by a nickel, we mean $1 per episode, please.
Yeah. All right, let's see what's up with Signals Intelligence.
Good call.
They'll be checking in now. Hey, Signals Intelligence. This is the segment of the show where we talk about some streaming service news. And during their actual quarterly earnings call, Verizon gave details on their upcoming video service. And those of you who may or may not remember, Intel wanted to do an internet-only cable service. They developed a system called OnQ. When Brian Krzanich took over as CEO of Intel, he decided that really wasn't their main business, and he sold it to Verizon. And now Verizon is letting out some hints about what they're going to do with this OnQ service. The content will be based on live news clips, based on sports and events. Apparently, they're talking with outlets like Vice, DreamWorks TV, and of course, because Verizon owns AOL properties like Huffington Post and TechCrunch, they will bundle the content with phone plans. And they don't expect to get a lot of content from traditional TV. It's coming out late summer.
Man, I don't know. I'm so conflicted on this. It's a bit all over the map, right? So you've got live news clips based on sports and events. Sounds to me like somebody went to Huffington Post and said, hey, you want to sign this piece of paper saying that we can use your stuff for some stuff? And Huffington Post is like, yeah, sure, who cares? Get out of here. And then, and same with Vice. Vice already, says yes to everyone. They got their own YouTube channel. And meanwhile, as in a story that we'll talk about later, there's rumors about a Vice channel on real television. I mean, it seems to me like they're just cobbling together some, forgive me for saying, I don't want to call it trash, but just stuff from the internet and calling it a revolutionary new experience.
Yeah, I'm worried that you're right about that. It's Verizon's TV over mobile has historically been a lot more marketing than substance. And I think their idea was this time was, working with a bunch of partners to deliver things that they own. Let's work with partners who are looser with the content restrictions and use the stuff that we own now that we own AOL. I just don't know anybody wants this.
I mean, this is the problem, right? Once you essentially what you're talking about is you're describing web TV from the late 20th century. You're looking at a hobbled version of the internet. If I want to jump around and look at a bunch of clips from a bunch of random providers, I'll just jump around and look at a bunch of clips on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the counter argument to that, I'm just going to try to come up with one, is Vice makes high quality stuff. TechCrunch makes high quality stuff. HuffPo's making high quality stuff. DreamWorks. So this will be a curated, better view, and you'll be able to watch it on your phone for free as part of your plan. I just don't see anyone picking that to spend their time with right now.
Well, this is
versus,
the problem. Is that it's putting
know?
it's putting video content in its own box, and if you're paying for a data plan, you have no expectation of video being in some separate category. Maybe you could have gotten away with this 5-7 years ago now, but I feel like nobody's going to make that jump. I mean, this feels very 2008 to me, which I believe in 2008 Verizon did offer, candy bar phones with physical keys that you could tune to watch Nickelodeon Live on or whatever, which, yep. I mean, again, if that's what you're going to do, and the revolutionary on-cue interface just allows you to have a pretty interface to do the same dumb stuff from before, I don't know. Maybe, and again, keep in mind, this is all rampant speculation. They haven't really said anything.
Well, no, this was said in an earnings call. They said we're going to be bundling it with phone plans, and it's going to include Vice, DreamWorks, AOL, HuffPo, and TechCrunch. This is not a rumor.
Okay.
This is not sources say. This is Verizon speaking on an earnings call.
I cannot
say. What we
say,
don't know is exactly all the details of how it's going to be sold, how it's going to be consumed. Maybe it'll be tied into a new set-top box. Who knows?
Okay, so I will say this definitively. I cannot say whether or not the actual product will be dumb, but I will say that to give real estate in an earnings call and to expect people to get excited over this is dumb if those people are me. Like, it's a dumb explanation for what sounds like a dumb product that I don't want. How about that?
Yeah, well, it's meant to excite the investors. It's not meant for you.
Yeah.
It's meant to get the investors to go, ooh, Verizon's getting into video. I hear video's where all the money is at these days on the internets. I'm going to keep my Verizon stock.
Maybe I'm a little different, but I think the investors are a little savvier than, or they expect consumers to be a little more savvy.
Are they?
Okay, all right, who knows?
Look.
Good point.
Let's look at the trends of the Verizon stock over the past week and find out. They were nonplussed. Pretty much.
Oh, really?
It's been pretty flat. Yeah, over the course of the last week.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Let's gear up.
Indeed. So we shall, sir. Put on the gear.
Speaking of a company that we actually did think might have an effect on the whole set-top box generation and the way we consume television. At one point, I was optimistic, and Brian was even, I think, enthusiastic about the Nintendo TV service. Weren't you?
Oh my gosh, in the biggest way. On paper, I thought this was it. First of all, I'm proud to admit that I was wrong to the fourth wrong power. I thought two things. Number one, I thought that it was a smart move for consoles to try to take over the DVR space, because they're so overpowered they could play these amazing video games. Why not go ahead and record your favorite programming, do filtering, provide video on demand services? That was an obvious right play to make. And then and when Xbox One focused heavily on that on their announcement at E3, they got crucified because Xbox One is for gaming. Get your TV out of my game console. And
just a side note. If Microsoft had gone to the National Association of Broadcasters conference and talked about all the great games they have coming out,
yes,
they probably would have got the same reaction.
Agreed. But I still thought that it was a right play and a right thing to focus on. And then when the TV came out, I thought, this is great. From on paper, this is everything I want. Finally, there really will be one box to rule them all. And I guess, given our news, maybe it's just not to be. Maybe there never will be one box to rule them all.
I don't. The thing that is true is that the Nintendo Wii will shut down its service of TV on August 11th. So no TV service on Nintendo Wii after August 11th. They're throwing the towel in. It's not going to be the one box to rule them all. If you don't remember, they had a channel guide on the Wii U gamepad. They had second screen interactivity, things like commenting while you were watching shows. They used an IR blaster to control your TV so it could handle your cable connection, but it also included all the major streaming services. It would just never worked very well. It was laggy and it lacked support.
Yeah, well, and also, laggy and lacked support is kind of what you would expect from a company that appears to, over the last 2 or 3 years, lagged behind its competition and lost the support of many of its peripheral fans. I mean, it's like, or certainly has lost focus. I feel like Nintendo's in a very rough spot right now, and it makes sense. If I am Nintendo right now, I am putting the word out on the streets. Cut everything that's not our core competency. Cut all the nonsense. Quit trying to be visionary. Let's focus on what sells consoles and what sells games.
It's a classic example of you can have all the specs on your sheet of paper, but if you don't execute well, it's not going to work. Because I still think game consoles are a great entry point into being the one box that can do everything. I don't think game consoles necessarily will solve it for everyone, because not everybody wants to pay the extra amount you need for it to play games, because not everybody plays games. But I do think that the Xbox and the PS4 are both positioned very interestingly. PlayStation 4 has the PlayStation Vue cable service, so they're ahead of Microsoft on that side of things. But the Xbox has the ability to integrate your existing, even your over-the-air TiVo. And so they both have different approaches. They're triangulating in on it. It's just, I think you're right, Brian. Nintendo is like, this just isn't the business that we should be in.
Yeah. Hey, man.
But the business you should be in
Yeah.
is outfitting yourself with things from Brian's store.
Yeah, man. Dude, it's gear for the modern rogue. There's two ways we support ourselves on this show. One is by people who want to pay for stuff directly or give us directly value for value through patreon.com/Cordkillers. But both of us make a little scratch on the side, but trying to make you guys happy and look good. For example, I run a little shop called scamstuff.com. We call it Gear for the Modern Rogue. And this week we have a special deal that we're doing. Hey, Tom, you ever wanted to learn how to pick a lock?
Yeah.
You like playing Fallout and Thief and BioShock? I don't know if there's locks in BioShock, but all of those. Oh, Skyrim. When you pick locks, you like those?
Yeah. What I do like is when I'm watching a TV show and the guy goes, "Hold on, I can pick this lock," and I'm like, I want to be that guy.
Well, here's the thing. We're doing a special this week. If you go to scamstuff.com, you'll find what we're calling the Ultimate Lock Trick Painter. Take two. Ultimate Lock Pick Trainer, where it's a mount, and you got 5 different locks. Each of these are keyed the same, but they have a different number of pins. Now, the first one, since there's only one pin, you get a basic set of lock picks. Pretty much anyone can open the first one within 5 minutes easily, and then you add a second pin, a third pin, a fourth pin. So essentially, it gamifies the process of learning how to pick a lock, right? And by the time you pick a 5-pin lock, you now have actually picked a KW1 quick set lock, most likely the exact same type of lock that is protecting you and your family right now, and then maybe you'll realize it's time to upgrade your locks. But it's fantastic, dude. My 7-year-old daughter got all the way up to a 4-pin lock on her own. And we're doing a deal this week. Normally it's $120. It's only $99.99. Plus, you get $30 of bump keys as well. So you get 2 totally different ways to pick locks. You get to look like a badass. You get to feel like you're playing Fallout. Or, you know what? Can't wait for Fallout 4. Skip straight to the lock picking right now. That's what I say.
And then proceed directly to the front lines.
Front lines!
So, as Brian alluded to earlier, the Wall Street Journal says Comcast has been talking with Vice, BuzzFeed, Business Insider, and Vox, the folks who do The Verge, about partnerships and acquisitions. For example, one idea being kicked around, apparently, is that Comcast could convert one of its NBC Universal cable channels to a Vice channel, either by selling one of them to Vice or just renting it out and saying, hey, let's put Vice content on here.
Yeah, dude, this seems like a slam dunk, if I'm not mistaken, right? Vice is a fantastic brand. We saw the same thing happen with Al Jazeera now has taken over all those current TV stations, right?
Well, there was current TV. There was one station, and Al Jazeera bought it.
Right. I'm sorry. I mean, when I say all those stations, I mean each regions of region for it. Yes, that's what I meant.
Yeah. Well, essentially, what happens is a channel will be carried or not carried by cable companies across the land, and so what NBC Universal is probably looking at is, we've got one that's in 50 million homes here. Although they just shut one down at the end of December called G4, so that one's not available in any homes anymore. But let's say they've got another one like that that they've got in 50 million homes. They say, well, let's see if we can revive it by putting Vice content on here. Gets popular enough, maybe it gets picked up by a bunch of other cable companies. To me, this is definitely the right area to go content-wise. The key to it is, what do you do for the audience that doesn't want to subscribe to cable to get it? Like, what special way into it do you offer them? Is it a website? Is it Hulu availability of the shows? Like, you really, if you want to take advantage of this kind of content, it can't just be putting it on one of your cable outlets.
Yeah, agreed. Hey, man, YouTube has hired Suzanne Daniels as vice president of YouTube Originals. Daniels was the president of programming for MTV and has led programming for Lifetime and the WB. She also played a PBS panel moderator in the series finale of The Office. Side note, Nickelodeon was doing a casting call at VidCon, YouTube's home turf. Where did you hear about that second bit of news there?
It was a Reuters article talking about Nickelodeon doing casting there, and that apparently other companies were there kind of looking for talent. It kind of goes with the Comcast story there, right? Big major cable companies looking at that YouTube audience and saying, okay, well, maybe we can get some shows around talent that's popular on YouTube. When Grace Helbig got a talk show on E, why not go after others? And meanwhile, at YouTube is going, hey, maybe we should hire the person who presided over the most successful years of the WB, greenlighting Buffy and Dawson's Creek, and see what she can do for today's modern youth on YouTube Originals.
Yeah, and that definitely seems like a match for the demographic for YouTube. I think YouTube today is the demographic that WB was trying to hit back in those days.
And my wife works for YouTube Space LA, where they sometimes shoot YouTube Originals. Disney CEO Bob Iger told CNBC this morning that ESPN will one day be sold directly to consumers, just like HBO. Then he stood high in his saddle, rattled his saber, and said, "Today is not that day." Actually, he said it'd be like 5 years away, so it's not coming soon.
Okay. Real quick, let's metagame for a moment. What is the benefit to having made this statement? Is it to mollify people? I mean, is he speaking between the lines? Is what he really saying, like, if we could, we would do this today, but we have entangling contracts that will take us 5 years in order to extricate ourselves from?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Like, what you get out of it as a consumer when he makes this statement is, hey, these a la carte channels might become a thing. Like, everybody, HBO, now Showtime, CBS, All Access, who's next? And Bob Iger's like, we might be. But then he says 5 years down the road. So to me, he's talking out of two sides of his mouth here. And I don't mean that as a critical way. He's saying to the investors, pressuring him to be like, hey, look at what HBO, that ESPN revenue model is starting to degrade. You need to look at what HBO's doing. He's saying, we're looking at what HBO's doing. We're looking very seriously. But out of the other side of his mouth, he's saying, but cable partners, don't worry. That's a ways away. Don't panic. We're not going to pull ESPN off of your channel or pull people away from you anytime soon.
Dude, this is the funny part. In the chat room, Flappy Lips says, mark your 2020 calendar. And when I hear it placed in stark terms like that, are you telling me that it will be 2020 before ESPN has a standalone app in HBO Now style?
The crazy thing is,
no way.
Brian, right now, you can pay $20 a month to get ESPN standalone. It's called Sling TV. Like,
fair enough.
They're already this close to doing it as it is.
So the more I think about it, the more I think if our Vegas odds maker Mitsula was in the audience, I guarantee you he would recommend all of us take the under on that. There's no way it'll be 2020 before then.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you what, man, starting next season, the NBA will let U.S. viewers buy access to individual games for $6.99. That gives you the ability to watch on your phone, tablet, PC, and participating cable or satellite provider. Isn't that great, Tom?
That sounds great. I can't wait to watch my hometown LA Clippers / Lakers play their games on my phone.
I must have skipped. The game has to be out of market. Also.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. You know what? I really don't like the Lakers and the Clippers that much, but I love it when those nationally televised Chicago Bulls games are on and I can watch it on my phone.
No, also, it can't be any of the televised nationally games. It has to be not of market and not televised. But then, hey, buddy.
So this is what MLB.TV did 8 years ago.
Well, and we know how much you like it
years,
from your previous rants.
Yeah. Netflix updated its smart television apps for the first time since late 2013. Now, if you're using a smart television and you select a title in Netflix, it'll start playing immediately while still displaying the title, description, and episode number while you confirm your choice. Netflix says that it provides a more immersive and cinematic experience.
You know, it's interesting. A little behind the scenes thing is I read this and I was like, man, I don't even know if we should really talk about it until we get our hands on it. But then it was Tom that says, well, we should talk about it, but we should ask for reports of hands-on from you guys.
Yeah, we shouldn't discuss it because we haven't tried it. I sort of like the idea of it playing immediately, but then sort of that distracts me if there's still things on the screen because I want to catch all of the audio, but maybe they skip back a few seconds from the last time you really watch it. It's like you say, Brian, it all is a matter of how well it works.
It feels visually almost like a throwback to the to the 90s and 80s when they're constantly rolling credits while also starting TV shows or whatever. It seems a little bit retro. Hey man, Cisco bought Scientific Atlanta in 2005 when it was the ruler of cable boxes. Now Cisco is selling the set-top portion of their business, or quote, the customer premises equipment business, as it's called, to Paris-based Technicolor, who are buying it for $600 million. I got to admit, Tom, you set me straight on this one. My immediately thought was someone bought an ancient turd and found a bigger sucker to buy an even more ancient, more turdish turd now.
Yeah, but Scientific Atlanta in 2005 when Cisco bought it was king. Like everybody's cable box was Scientific Atlanta, and there was no cord cutting in 2005. There was no serious threat to cable. So Cisco's doing the right thing. In 2005, they got in on a moneymaker, and now they're what the bigger question you asked, I think, is more relevant. Like, why does Technicolor want it?
Well,
but it's not $600 million. I guess maybe they're just going to get patents and parts. I don't know.
To be honest, I actually suspect that the answer is in the words Paris-based Technicolor, because where the space we are right now, there are still a lot of monopolies that are still putting out a lot of cable boxes with a lot of old school cable style packages. The situation that we are enjoying in most of the Western world is not the situation or I don't know, not even most of Western.
Did you just say France is not in the Western world?
Well, I mean, it's not in the Western Hemisphere, is it?
No. But it's generally considered to be the Western
Well, and even as I said that, I realized that, of course, when my parents lived in Venezuela, they had a very old school cable thing so it's not even the Western Hemisphere.
No, but I think you're on the right track here, because even though the UK is probably, in my opinion, the leader in cord cutting as far as giving you options like through Sky TV and flexibility that we haven't got here yet, Paris, according to Patrick Beja, is still very cable based. People still buy cable television there. So you're right. Then maybe Technicolor can sell more boxes in Paris, but I would bet it's more about just like, hey, we want some of those patents, we want some of that technology for other kinds of uses. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that.
The FCC has approved the merger of AT&T and DirecTV in the United States. Among the conditions, AT&T agreed not to use data caps to discriminate against competing video services. So there you go. AT&T, DSL. No, I shouldn't say that. UVerse is really their main thing. And the gigabit package that Brian has is coming to more cities too. That'll all be bundled with DirecTV now.
Yeah, it's really weird. And these are words that a 20-year-old Brian would have punched a 40-year-old Brian in the face when he spoke. But, my service with AT&T, at least here in Austin, and I understand your mileage may vary, has actually been fairly exemplary. Both the installation and the cutting of the cable service from AT&T Uverse has been fantastic. And given the fact that sort of the people who can get cable, who can get gigabit, are going to get cable and get gigabit. Those who can't and those who like DirecTV will go with DirecTV. I really don't have an immediate gut opinion about whether this is good or bad for customers. I mean, I love more competition, but I don't really feel like DirecTV and AT&T were ever competing or are still competing.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, AT&T Uverse TV service was competing with DirecTV, but not in the level that like Time Warner and Comcast compete with each other. So this is probably good for DirecTV because the satellite-based TV business is going to be phased out, and it can be phased out as it moves into an internet service. And DirecTV is making a lot of steps that way already and allowing you to access a lot of television service through the DirecTV app. trying to encourage you to do that, as a matter of fact. And I think AT&T can help accelerate that because DirecTV has good relationships with a lot of the cable or channel providers, and AT&T has a lot of infrastructure. So you're going to see some interesting packages. Whether it's actually good for consumers all depends on what those packages end up being. If they go the route of Comcast Stream and say AT&T internet providers can now get an internet version of DirecTV, that's less interesting to me than if AT&T says, we have a new DirecTV internet version that anybody can get on whatever internet provider you're on. That would be amazing.
Wow, that would be a bold move, and I wonder if their shareholders would allow them to do that. I don't know. But
some of them would, some of them wouldn't, right? I think it's the kind of move they could make, and it's the kind of move that only an AT&T DirecTV combo could make even possible. Whether that's what AT&T wants to do or not, I couldn't guarantee it.
Well,
I'd say
you
it's probably
can
a less than
speculate
50%
wildly, though. And you can also speculate wildly about what we're about to talk about that's under surveillance.
It's all about location.
So, as we heard, the latest X-Files teaser came out, wherein Scully admits that she had no choice in returning to the show. Also, the previous trailer has been made private on the Fox YouTube channel mysteriously.
Tell me there's a bootleg
Brian?
of that out, right?
They took the teaser and they made it private. What could it mean? Could it mean that the marketing department for the X-Files at Fox decided that removing it and making it private would feel mysterious?
Wait, do you really think that was their angle? You don't think it was like...
Totally.
Oh, really? That's amazing. Wow.
Like, why would you not leave the previous teaser up?
All right, that's pretty funny. Brilliant. Well played, sirs.
Netflix hired Angelina Jolie. Just let that sink in for a second.
Dude.
Yeah. Jolie Pitt, as she is more properly known, will direct a film based on the memoir First They Killed My Father, about a child soldier in Cambodia's Khmer Rouge period, for Netflix.
Dude, that's huge, man. And again, it's one of those cases where there's diminishing returns. And yes, Angelina Jolie is a even bigger box office draw than Kevin Spacey, but we've sort of I'm almost inured to this flight to quality that Netflix has enjoyed, and we're at the point now where you're gonna have to tell me that President Barack Obama has signed up to do a show on Netflix for me to get the big aha moment anymore. It's like
seriously, Brian, you expect me to believe that you think that President Barack Obama is bigger than Angelina Jolie Pitt?
Touche, sir. Well played. But what I'm saying
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that's fantastic. That's a testament to the fact that they continue to knock them out of the park. It's hard for me to believe that we were mocking Netflix a scant 3 or 4 years ago.
You were.
I was. Heavily.
At VidCon, a new trailer for the digital series Electra Woman and Dyna Girl was shown, starring Grace Helbig and Hannah Hart of YouTube fame, as well as other things. And it looks like it's going to be I don't know, Brian. I looked at this trailer and I'm like, this is going to be the first truly big digital series hit. I'm going to want to watch this, but it is definitely made for the people who have grown up watching YouTube and video on the web.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, I did not have time to watch it beforehand, but I'm looking at it right now, and it seems like it's got the right mix of humor and campiness and honesty and earnesty, and to watch again in a brand new medium, a new generation of stars be born is really extraordinary.
Yeah, what's really cool about it is it's preserving the Sid and Marty Krofft Electra Woman and Dyna Girl vibe from the 70s, but the idea is that they are fighting crime, I think in Cleveland. I may have that part wrong, but they get invited to move to LA to fight crime because they can be more successful there.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. All right, look, I'm in. That's all you had to say.
All right, Brian, what have you been watching on your television screen and or other screen this week?
Well, I guess both of us watched the latest episode of True Detective, correct?
I have a hard time telling them apart, but I think I watched this week's, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll talk about it. I'll walk you through it through spoiler in time, and we could get opinions on there. I did watch the Rick and Morty premiere. Between you, me, and the wall, a certain priest at a certain network may have handed me a certain leaked copy of it beforehand. and I may have watched it before its actual premiere, but I'd love to talk to you. Did you get a chance to watch that?
Yeah, I watched it online legally this afternoon.
Well, good. And I tried to watch, as I promised last week, the 3 episodes to get caught up with Mr. Robot. I did watch episodes 3 and 4, and I was so amped up, and I was so thrilled that we were late today, because I remember thinking this afternoon, USA gets it. They get this audience. They understand that they're going to represent hacking intelligently, and we'll talk about this a lot more on the content side of things. But if you just go to Google, type in MR Robot, 2 words, and it will take you straight to the page. You can hit play on episode 1. You will not have to sit through any pre-roll. You will not have to sit through any ads the entire time. There are no ads in any of the episodes. And jumping in, I was so freaking stoked until I got to this episode and saw that it says, sign in with your TV provider to watch full episodes starting on episode 5. And I was really bummed.
But at a certain point, they have to do something, right? They can't just make every episode available for free without commercials streaming on their website forever. Like, they just can't. No. Otherwise, you can't pay for making those episodes. So I guess what they're doing is saying, we'll make them available for free for streaming to catch up, because we understand the ethos there is you'll just go out and pirate it. But the current episode, you'll either have to wait for, or you'll have to pay for cable, or you can go buy it from Vudu or iTunes or Amazon or somewhere like that.
Well, I guess I'll be buying it, but I was actually kind of bummed, because my experience in their player, that website, that player is so fast, it's so zippy. I wanted to stay in that environment and just keep on watching that. I don't want to have to go out and buy it somewhere, I guess that's what I'll have to do.
And maybe the cable companies won't let them get away with this yet, but the key would have been to make it available to purchase. Like, log in with your cable credentials or purchase the episode here. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh my God, I so would have done that. If it said pay now with Amazon and you'll own it, and bleep, click, blop, 1 click, I'm done. That would have been done. But we got lots to talk about in the content side on Mr. Robot. If you're not watching it, you are missing one of the smartest, most beautiful television shows. It is a movie experience every week for me. It's great.
I've been watching all of that stuff too. Been still making my way through Clone Wars. Watched 6 episodes of the 2nd season of BoJack Horseman, because I didn't ever finish the 1st season, so I had to go back and watch all of those too. But really, like, no loss of quality there for me. I really enjoyed the 2nd season as much as the rest of the 1st. And watched Wayward Pines, and they just had their season finale, and it was interesting. If you're looking for something like AMC quality or above, I don't think Wayward Pines quite hits it, but there's some interesting things going on there with the storytelling and the twists and the personalities. So it's a fine way to while away some extra hours if you have them. And of course, The Shield episode 9 season 6 we'll talk about in spoiler in time as well.
Heck yes. Shall we take some dispatches?
No, we should ask Mr. Bryce what he's been on the lookout for.
Hi.
Got it.
Yeah. Hey guys. This week I've got a drama for you. I don't know if I'm feeling inspired because of True Detective is being on right now, but Netflix has a drama that came out earlier this year called Bloodline. Have you guys heard of this?
No.
Yeah, because it's got Coach Taylor in it.
So it's a family in the Florida Keys. They run this bed and breakfast. And there's a big family reunion, and it brings the black sheep of the family, Danny, into town. And Danny's kind of been this on again, off again, wild child sort of person throughout all of his life. And I won't spoil it, but Bloodline does a really good job of telling you a really interesting thriller mystery from both ends. Of showing you kind of what the outcome is, but kind of keeping you on track to figure out how you get from a nice family reunion to how the narrative concludes. It's a really gorgeous show between a fantastic use of color, and the acting is really solid just all the way through. So that's Bloodline on Netflix. Season 1 is available now, and I think there's going to be a season 2.
Now, are you you're watching True Detective as well, right?
Yes.
So if you had to pick between your two favorite children, this season of True Detective or the first season of Bloodline, if somebody is like, I want to begin one of these, which would you say?
Between this season of True
Yes,
Detective,
correct.
Bloodline.
Oh, wow. Right on.
Yeah. I think the action is there. The mystery is there. It's not a police case. It's not a police case like the True Detectives are.
Sure.
But the mystery is there. The action is really well done, and the interconnectivity of different characters, I feel, plays a little better than in True Detective.
Awesome.
Yeah, Netflix keeps recommending it to me. It says it thinks I would like it. So now Bryce and Netflix think I would like it.
Yeah.
That's enough for me.
That's
I'm
two.
in. Maybe because at some point in the next few months, I'm going to run out of shields.
Oh.
That's going to happen. That's a thing.
And so maybe Bloodline could be my next fallback girlfriend, my
Your rebound.
Your side wife.
my
I got
rebound.
you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right on.
Let's get some dispatches from the front.
Oof, finally. I was a little bit worried.
Well, because we're kind of excited about this first one here, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's going to fill up some time.
JT wrote a question that he would love us to talk about, and we're excited to talk about it too. He's a movie collector. He says in the 90s and early 2000s, there was something incredibly gratifying about owning that DVD package, the Lord of the Rings Extended Edition, the Blade Runner Director's Cut with a 5-hour making of documentary. They really gave me a sense of ownership, and they were worth owning. Those days seem long gone. He doesn't want to grapple with investing in Blu-ray, knowing that physical media's days look numbered. So he struggles to figure out a few things when it comes to owning a movie collection. Which digital service makes the most sense to invest in for the long haul, mainly between Google Play and Amazon, since I'm an Android user? Or is the very idea of owning movies becoming silly when I can rent just about anything the moment I feel like watching it? Is there room for the movie collector in the cord-cutting world?
Man, my brain begins to break down with all the parallels and metaphors. I mean, the most obvious one is how silly does having physical media of CDs feel in a world where you could just get a Spotify subscription and 90% plus of your entire back catalog of materials are available instantly wherever you go. However, try saying that to a vinyl collector, somebody who absolutely adores these physical artifacts, these what was it, as the great Whammo poet said, I still stick my needles in my music, baby, right in the groove. There's an ineffable quality to collecting anything that is hard to really measure. And I think that if you are the kind of person who wants to collect, that you will be catered to, and it'll be figured out. They will figure out a way to do it, but I don't know. I suspect that what used to be precious about owning things, stuff like behind the scenes commentary and stuff like that, I think we're going to see a flight to quality where buying, in air quotes, digital versions of that unlocks all this experiential, secondary audio and all that other stuff, whereas streaming services will just let you watch the movie. And I think that might be a good balance. I might be okay with that. I tell you, I definitely would resent less buying episodes of my of television shows that I'm watching if I knew that I was getting something more than just the episode.
Yeah, when I bought the new Star Wars editions that came out digitally, I didn't want a Blu-ray version of them, but I still got all of the interviews, all of the extended scenes, deleted scenes. So if you're buying for that, then the question is, which service should you buy your stuff with, right? And I'll give you my answer for that in a second. But the other question, I think, is sometimes you want to own a box. Like, you really do want to own that. That's when you're talking about the vinyl collector. Like, you want to own that object, and maybe it has like a special carved figurine in it or a pack of cards, and that's cool. And I'm tempted to say go ahead and go Blu-ray, but I actually think JT is right. Like, Blu-ray's days are numbered, and those boxes could easily be sold just as well with a fancy thumb drive, right? And say, like, the movies are on the thumb drive, but we're giving you this lovely collector's edition box. And I think that's what'll happen. I'm still waiting for that first digital box set that has the movies on a non-Blu-ray disc. And I think everybody in the movie industry is so invested on making Blu-ray work for so many years that it's going to be a while before they just give up.
Well,
but eventually that's going to happen.
You know, and the whole theoretical idea behind Ultraviolet is that it transfers that sense of ownership to a virtual platform, but we just have not seen it. If you stop people on the street and ask them what Ultraviolet means, they have no idea.
It does and it doesn't, right? Like owning the boxed set, you'll never transfer that to digital form because I want to be able to look at it. I want to see it. I want to pick it up. You can't do that with digital. Owning digital, like just because I want to have a big collection, that's what all those Plex users are on about. Like, ooh, I have my collection here, right? And Ultraviolet hasn't quite cracked it. Disney Movies Anywhere hasn't quite cracked it. So we're still waiting for somebody to really make something that everyone has faith in. My feeling is if you want to start collecting digitally, buy the movies that are going to be available on the most number of services. So, for instance, I bought my copy of the Star Wars box set through Vudu because that instantly gave me Ultraviolet copies of everything Ultraviolet had rights to, but I could still get the Disney Movie Anywhere copies of everything that Disney has rights to, which is everything but the first movie, the New Hope. And so you have to think about it. The other answer would be like maybe just hold off on collecting them for now.
I mean, that's tough, man, because people who I know who love to collect stuff really love to collect stuff and will continue to want to collect stuff. So saying, hey, have you tried not being a collector for a while?
Yeah, no, I know. It's not really an answer, right? So I would go with Ultraviolet. I would go with buying through Vudu in most cases for collectability because Ultraviolet then gives you access on other platforms unless it's a Disney movie. Which case I'd still buy Disney movies through Vudu if you can, because if there is any Ultraviolet rights attached, it gives you them, but it also gives you the Disney Movies Anywhere. Vudu is a member of both, is what I'm saying, and so that's probably the best place to buy them. And make sure you keep your rights updated and your lockers updated, which sounds stupid that you have to do that, but that is something to be aware of.
I mean, and I tell you what, I mean, how many times have we covered like, well, this service is shutting down, so all the people who own things here, sorry, bro. You know, maybe it'll be supported over here.
That's why I was glad I bought through Vudu, because when Target shut down, the free movies I got through Target's service were Ultraviolet, and so they're still in my Vudu library.
Yeah. Hey, so we're going to phrase this carefully here. An anonymous boss of ours throwing a crumpled Filet-O-Fish sandwich wrapper, that's code, with a secret message at us regarding whether Hulu would add a commercial-free level. In other words, someone who knows someone talked to someone who couldn't say something. Said, quote, if you look at the current name change of getting rid of Hulu Plus, you might be able to read the tea leaves. I say no more. Boy, I don't know about you, Tom, but that sounds crystal clear to me.
You know, at a certain point, inside information stops being information.
Yeah.
I get the impulse, though, right? This person knows somebody who knows something, right?
Right.
And so they're like, oh, so I got them to say this. And I'm like, well, they said that because it's safe to say that because we could all guess that.
Although I get the impression, if reading the full letter, I get the impression that he or she knew it beforehand, but only now that this news is out did this anonymous source feel comfortable sharing the fact that
I don't know if that's true or not, Brian, because that's giving away other details that we didn't write down. But what is true is they got rid of Hulu Plus, and there's a rumor about a free commercial tier. So, man, I don't know, maybe. Seems legit.
Sounds good to me. Hey, so Jeff reports in from Charlotte, North Carolina. Competition works! With Google Fiber soon on its way, a call to Time Warner customer service got them to match the $70 a month rate for internet only for the 50 megabits down and 5 megabits up for a year, down from $110 a month. Love the show. Keep up the great work, Patreon supporter Jeff. I'm going to suggest, Jeff, that maybe you didn't even need the threat of Google coming to town, because we've had an awful lot of people just pick up the phone and say, hey, you, cable provider, internet service provider, I want to pay less. And they'll say, okay.
Yeah, but it certainly doesn't hurt, right? If
Absolutely.
Google Fiber's coming to town, to call up and go, hey, I'm thinking of canceling my service because Google Fiber's coming to town, right? Use all the negotiations at your beck and call. But if Google Fiber's not coming to town, Brian's right. Yeah, try calling anyway. Who knows? And then Scott from Houston said, I was listening to the caller who was denied service because he took his PlayStation with him to the beach house. That was Eck last week. The question of the service rep when he said, you wouldn't take your cable box to the beach, would you, made me laugh. Before cutting the cord, I was a Dish Network subscriber. Our DVR would usually have hours of content we hadn't watched yet. Whenever we would go on vacation, we would take our Dish receiver with us just so we could watch the recorded shows offline. So my answer to the reps would be, yes, we would take our cable box with us.
And not only would, but have and did with good reason.
And you know what this made me think of is the people with DirecTV on their campers. DirecTV has a service that you can add DirecTV satellite dishes, or at lethat did, to your Winnebago, and it will allow you to watch TV in the camper wherever you go, traveling around.
And now that I think about it, when this is a sentence that I bet most of you did not expect Brian Brushwood to speak. Back when I was on tour with Brooks and Dunn, Rascal Flatts, and Brad Paisley, the tour bus had one of those. We'd have DirecTV, and we were able to see it everywhere, even on the road. So yeah.
That's for another show. I want to hear more about that. But that's it for this show. Cordkillers is a Tom Merritt and Brian Brushwood production. We survive by your good graces at cordkillers.com/Patreon or patreon.com/Cordkillers. Sorry. Yeah, I think either one works. So please, if you get some value out of the show, consider giving some value back. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we're live on diamondclub.tv Mondays. Not this week at the right time, but usually at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Hey, man. Yeah. Hit us up. Show us some love. Be our best friends on Patreon. We'll see you guys next week. Hey, guys. Tom and Brian here. We just wanted to say thank you to all of our $5 patrons who keep us loud, live, and independent. You guys make Cordkillers the production that it is.
Your name appears in the video credits and appears in our hearts. And if you'd like to become one of them or see who they are, you can go to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
You'll need to do more than just go there, though. You'll have to sign up and, pledge an amount. But
unless you just want to see who they are.
Well, I mean, you could gawk. That's a little creepy, isn't it?
If you want to be a gawker,
let's go.
It's up to you.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.